Hello and welcome to the classes of Mastering Biology Easily. I'm here again to cover up the second part of this life process, which is respiration. I have already given you an introduction on what is respiration and what are the types of respiration. Today we shall be dealing up with this part, which is respiration in plants. Now when I talk about plants, in case of plants, we've already understood when we were studying nutrition that oxygen is given out, water is splitted and carbon dioxide is taken in to produce carbohydrates. That's right. So, now for this purpose of taking in the carbon dioxide and giving out the oxygen was photosynthesis. But what about respiration? Do plants don't they need oxygen? Yes, they need oxygen also for respiration. So when are they doing it? So today we'll study and understand that part. So, my dear children, when I talk about respiration in case of plants can happen in the leaves and young green plants. All right. And this respiration or this gaseous exchange takes place through stomata. Fine. Then it can also happen through lenticels in woody stem. Fine. And the third thing, it can also happen by the root hairs. Can also happen by the root hairs. Now, what are these? The stomata, the lenticels, and the root hairs. These are the structures which help in gaseous exchange of the plants. All right. So, by the process of diffusion, gaseous exchange takes place by these three structures, respectively, where they are present. Like root hairs will be present in the roots. Lenticels, are present in woody stem, and stomata is present in the leaves and the green parts of the plant. So, let us have a look one by one at all these structures. The first structure is stomata, which you have already studied and you have understood the structure. That is, these are pore-like openings surrounded by a bean-shaped or kidney-shaped guard cells, all right, which is regulating their opening as well as closing. Now, during photosynthesis, children, stomata was taking in carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, and during respiration, it is giving out oxygen. Now, why is it happening and how is it possible? Now, see, children, plants perform differently during the daytime and during nighttime. So during the day, what happens? We know sunlight is available. Plants have to perform photosynthesis for the production of food. Yes. So the plant is going to take in carbon dioxide and give out oxygen, because photosynthesis is the major event. Now, this doesn't at all mean that no respiration is taking place during the day. Respiration is also happening. And you know that during respiration, what is given out? Carbon dioxide released is utilized in photosynthesis. photosynthesis. That is the reason oxygen evolution is the main event, because plant is taking up all the carbon dioxide what it is getting from the atmosphere, and whatever respiration is giving it, it is using it all in the process of photosynthesis. But at night, no photosynthesis is going to take place. And when no photosynthesis is happening, respiration is the major event. Respiration is the major event. That is, carbon dioxide is given out at night and oxygen is utilized. Children, that is the reason it is said that after the sunset, we should not sit under the trees, or we should not sleep under the trees. Why? Because since they are not performing photosynthesis, they cannot provide us oxygen. All right? They are also using oxygen and giving out carbon dioxide. So at night, please remember that respiration is the major event, and during the day, photosynthesis is the major event. So that will help you to keep in mind that why plant is giving out oxygen during the day and carbon dioxide at night. And that is why we have studied since so long that it is always said during the day plants give out oxygen, but at night they give out carbon dioxide. And the reason is this, that it is performing photosynthesis during the day and respiration is also happening, but whatever carbon dioxide is being produced is being utilized during photosynthesis. But at night, since no photosynthesis is happening, respiration is the only event which is taking place, and carbon dioxide has to be given out. All right. And this given out part is done from the stomata, from the structure that you can see, the pore-like structures which are covered with the or guarded by the guard cells. All right. You can see an open stomatal pore and a closed stomatal pore. They are present on the surface of the leaves and on the green parts of the plant. Yes. So now let's have a look at the next part, which says the woody part. The woody part of the plant, they have openings which are called lenticels. These dash-like structures that you see here, these are all lenticels. All right. And these are mainly found in the woody parts of the plant. This is the place where direct gaseous exchange takes place through the process of diffusion. Please remember, gaseous exchange, whether it takes place in plants, in unicellular organisms, in multicellular organisms, or higher organisms like human being, the ultimate process of gaseous exchange is diffusion. So, gaseous exchange takes place by diffusion. Please keep in mind this part. All right. Let us move to the next part, which is the root hair cell. Now, roots, you know, are present in the soil. Roots are present they're present in the soil. And soil particles in between have these spaces, and these spaces hold soil air. These spaces have air in them. So the air from these spaces is diffused in. That means diffusion of oxygen from here takes place. So diffusion of oxygen, which is present here in the soil particles, take place. And once this diffusion has taken place, the CO2 will be given out here only in the soil air. And that is why we say that root hairs are present in the soil and they help in gaseous exchange again by the process of diffusion. Now, a very, very important point that you should keep in mind here, that why we should not water, or we should not overwater plants. Why we should not overwater plants, why we should not add water to plants at night. All right, so the answer to these questions we'll be taking up one by one here. We should not overwater plants because what happens, the water that you give to the soil gets filled up the spaces here in the soil particles. सॉइल पार्टिकल के बीच में जो सॉइल एयर की स्पेस थी, that gets occupied by the water that you have given to the soil. As a result, the plant is not able to breathe. That means the root hair cells cannot perform this gaseous exchange. That is, CO2 cannot be given out in the soil and oxygen cannot be taken up from the soil air. All right, so that is the reason the plants die if we overwater them. Overwatering of plants kill them. All right, because the water that you've added to the soil replaces the soil air. And so no gaseous exchange can be performed by the root hairs, resulting in the death of soil, death of the plant, I'm sorry. All right, now this can also be asked that why plants die in a waterlogged soil. So it's the same answer, except for some plants, and one of the example is the mangroves. And children, these plants grow in swampy areas where there is lot of water already present in the soil. So what do? They breathe with the help of peg-like structures like this, which are called as pneumatophores. All right, so waterlogged soil is not good for plants, but in case of mangroves, they have built up an adaptation that the roots come out of the soil, and such roots are called as negatively geotropic. These are called as negatively geotropic because these roots are growing against the gravity. All right, so I hope I am clear with this part, that how gaseous exchange takes place through stomata, how it takes place through your root hairs, and how it takes place through the lenticels. And along with that, I have given you small keywords, small answers to questions which you have to remember, because these questions can be asked in your board exams. All right, fine. So let us proceed with this part then. We have already discussed the three sites where gaseous exchange takes place by the process of diffusion. Now we'll talk about respiration in organisms. Which organisms? Basically, we'll talk about animals now. All right. So, for that, what you need to know, the first thing, that the characteristics of the respiratory surface. These characteristics are always common to all the organisms. All right. The first characteristic that you have to keep in mind is that they should have a large surface area for more diffusion of gases. The membrane should be, the respiratory surface or the respiratory membrane should be permeable and thin and moist. All right. Remember, a dry surface cannot allow the process of diffusion, because when the cell surface is dry, it is considered to be dead. So the membrane should be permeable, it should be thin, it should be moist as well. And the third one that you need to remember, it should be richly supplied with the blood capillaries. It should be richly supplied with the blood capillaries. Because what is going to happen if it is richly supplied with the blood capillaries? Then only the blood with oxygen is going to reach these organs. So the respiratory surface should have these three characters, and remember, these are very, very important. They can be asked as MCQ, they can be directly asked as a 3-marker question. All right. Now, let us proceed to the next slide, which says respiration in organisms, that is in animals. We have terrestrial animals and the aquatic animals. When I say the aquatic animals, it usually includes fish. Example is fish. Another example is the tadpole of frog. Both these organisms breathe through gills. All right. Both these organisms breathe through gills. And when I say the terrestrial organisms, the land animals, here we talk about frog, which is an adult frog. So it has lungs, it has the buccal cavity. If I talk about human beings, they also have lungs for gaseous exchange. All right. That means the aquatic animals take up dissolved oxygen in air, in water, and human beings or land animals take up oxygen in air. All right. Now, what I want you to tell, you should know this point, that the percentage or the concentration of oxygen in air is much higher than oxygen dissolved in water. All right. As a result, again a very important point, rate of breathing is faster in case of aquatic animals than the terrestrial animals. So again, a question of your importance. Why is the rate of breathing higher in aquatic organisms rather than the terrestrial organisms? Because the concentration of air, which is concentration of oxygen, which is present in air, is much higher than the oxygen which is dissolved in water. As a result, the rate of breathing increases in case of aquatic animals. So you have to remember this thing, that why the rate of breathing is much faster in aquatic organisms. All right. Now, the next small but an interesting topic, you'll have to memorize certain terms, like in case of amoeba. It also has to respire. Yes, it is a unicellular organism. So it respires through general cell surface. When I talk about fish, I already told you fish and tadpole. They breathe in through gills. And this process is known as branchial respiration. In other organisms like insects, like your grasshopper, they have spiracles for gaseous exchange, and this is known as the tracheal respiration. Organisms which breathe through lungs like frog and humans, the respiratory organ is lungs, and this mode is known as pulmonary respiration. Children, keep in mind now, whenever the word pulmonary will come, that means we are talking about the lungs. These two words are interrelated. Whenever we say the word pulmonary, that means we are talking about lungs. All right. Now, as I told you, frog also breathes through. Frog also breathes through skin and buccal cavity. So, the other terms that you need to know, with skin, it is cutaneous respiration, which happens in case of earthworm also, who respires through the moist skin. All right. So, frog and earthworm respires through the skin, and frog can also respire through the buccal cavity. This is known as buccopharyngeal respiration. This is known as buccopharyngeal respiration. All right. I hope you have understood the name of organisms, the organs they breathe, and what is the type of respiration, the terms that are used with respect to the organs that are involved for this process of gaseous exchange. All right. Now, let us talk about respiration in fish. How does respiration take place in case of fish? That is, I am talking about the branchial respiration. Now, quickly I'll draw some part of the fish. These are the gill slits and the gills. This is the fish and this is the mouth. Now, if you have observed a fish in the aquarium, you must have seen that the fish opens its mouth and closes it again and again. And along with that, a curved structure like this also keeps on moving out and in as if it is opening and closing. Yes, dear children, the number of times the fish is going to open its mouth, the number of times this curved structure also opens and closes. So what is the mechanism that is happening here? All right. Now we know that gaseous oxygen and carbon dioxide are dissolved in water. They are present in dissolved form in water. Now, the water which is rich in oxygen enters here through the mouth. All right. This water then splashes over the gills, and what is happening here? Exchange of gases. That is carbon dioxide from blood diffuses into water, and oxygen from water diffuses into blood. All right, that means the gaseous exchange has taken place. Now, the water is now rich in carbon dioxide. So this water is given out from here, that is CO2 rich water. Please remember, it does not come back from this path. It does not come back. All right. And what about the oxygen which has diffused in the blood? This oxygen now diffused into the blood and it is distributed to the body parts of the fish. All right, children. So, this is the way gaseous exchange takes place in case of fish. In next class, I shall talk about the gaseous exchange in case of insects, and then we will talk about the human respiratory system. So thank you for today. Keep revising, keep recalling, and for any of your doubts, do comment me in the comment box. Thank you.